This shop's one of a kind. We never know what might turn up. Some days, it could be a grand old classic. Other days, maybe a muscle car, even a military vehicle. Some jobs are quick fixes. Others are full-blown restorations. And on occasion, million-dollar recreations. My only rule, perfection. And that's the kind of thing that we do at the Guild Garage.
Yeah, Larry, the client's reporting that the oil pressure is low on this car, and when the RPMs come up, the oil pressure is actually dropping on it, so...
66 Shelby Cobra rolled into the shop today. This car was built in 2009 from new old stock parts, so it's replica of a 69, but it was built in 2009, except for the engine, which is a modern 427, which only has 100 kilometers on it.
Oh my God, look at that. Big block Ford, hee-haw! Apparently it has some kind of an oil issue with the engine.
See that? It's actually dropping. The gauge is going crazy. Dropping from down to 5 PSI, bouncing up to 20, back to 5, so it's all over the place.
That tells me there's something bad going on inside that engine somewhere.
The first and most obvious thing we're gonna do is just check the oil, make sure we got enough in the engine.
What's it say? Well, it's only down a little bit.
Yeah, it says like here, 3/4 of a liter.
Well, the parts for the car is from original parts. The engine is not, so we really can't tell what's going on in there until we have a look at it.
The motor's supposed to be new, so could be the gauge itself.
Could be. I hope something didn't go wrong inside there. Well, but we're going to have to get our master gauge on it.
Okay.
It'll tell the tale. When something like that happens with the car that comes in with a mechanical oil pressure gauge, you don't know if it's accurate or not. Things happen to them, but we have a master gauge in the shop here that we trust, we know is accurate. So we're going to hook that into the car's existing oiling system and start it up, and we're going to compare it, our known good gauge, its readings to what is happening with the one in the car.
Okay, let's see. Okay, ready?
Yep. Cut her down. I can start to hear the valve train rattling in it.
The RPM came up,
It gets
the oil
less.
pressure went down.
I'm almost to nothing.
Exactly like this gauge here,
Yep.
so.
Yeah, at this point, I'm leaning towards a mechanical problem. Something's happened on the bottom end of this engine.
Yeah. We'll have to get the pan off and have a
Yep.
good look inside, check the bearings.
Yep.
No matter how rare some of these rusty old junkers are that we're working on, it all gets a little bit same old by the end of the day. So Janice and I are going to Italy to look at a whole new kind of car that we don't have a lot of experience with. We're visiting MAT in Torino. And this is a company that's presently involved in making an amazing hypercar that's actually taking the competitive world by storm. We're really lucky. The SCG-003 is actually on the track today. They're giving a shakedown prior to sending it off to Nürburgring for the 24-hour. We're here to meet Jim Glickenhausen. He's the guy that's behind this entire endeavor. Jim.
Hey, good to see you.
Hey, Jim.
Nice to see you.
I met Jim for the first time, a couple of years ago. Had heard about him before that, and had seen some of the cars that Jim had created even before that.
The thing that we've tried to do is make a very user-friendly car, whether it's a race car or whether it's eventually the road car version of it. So here's our car, and here's Paolo Garella, my partner, my friend, and the chief engineer and designer.
Hi, Dennis.
Hi.
Jim and Paolo first met in 2009 when they collaborated on the Ferrari P45. That car went on to win second in class at the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. That's no small accomplishment.
Paolo was head of special projects at Pininfarina, and he was in charge of the entire process of turning the Enzo into Ferrari P45 by Pininfarina. And then after that, I basically said to Paolo, look, the time has come to be a real constructor and to start with a clean sheet of paper and to build, design, and engineer a car from the ground up.
The car is a completely carbon fiber car. Every component is carbon except of clearly the suspension, and a lot of the work that we have done in terms of aerodynamic is to have a car that is very, very efficient in terms of drag.
This is a brilliant design. There is a minimum height requirement for these cars, and the way they've got through that was they put a little fin on the roof, which met the minimum height requirement, but allowed them to build a car that is overall a lot shorter in stature.
We have these 3 gauges that are helpful when the car stops during the pit. One is the fuel level, the second one is for the oil level, and the third one is just the color that identified color. So this one is red, the other one is blue.
It's modular. It can be taken apart by a normal mechanic. It can be repaired easily.
4 guys could take this entire car apart in 20 minutes. He tells me that they can change a transmission in 45 minutes.
At the last race, we changed the entire gearbox in 35 minutes. It's so easy to take apart and put back together.
I got the racing suit, now I'm going for the spin.
Okay, slow down. Got to get this front end over. Okay, what I'm doing here is putting the company logo on the side of this customer's van. You can get this printed on vinyl and stuck on like a wrap, but it doesn't last. Like this will last forever. Right. I had the logo cut out on a vinyl plotter, and it cut out all the different sections I needed to do the color with. So the horse and lettering. Yeah, this is a little bit more work than most logos. It's got probably about 8 different colors in it. This is the tricky part here, getting the vinyl stuck on the side of the van without any wrinkles. Try and keep all the bubbles out. Back before there was computers, I used to draw this stuff on and cut it all out by hand. So this logo is really hard to see because it's white. So what I do is I get a little cloth and I rub it on some carbon paper, and then you can just rub it across, and it's easier to pull out your colors.
We're getting erratic readings on the oil pressure gauge, so it could be a number of things. From the oil pickup not being positioned properly in the oil pan, to the oil pickup maybe cracked or broken, or an oil pump itself that's not working properly, or excess clearances in the engine that are causing this problem. Alrighty. Yeah, a lot of oil, for sure. Oh. Not a lot of oil coming out of it, though, is there? So that was a big surprise when I only got a couple liters of oil out of the engine, because the dipstick was reading that it should have been pretty well full. So there's something, that's the first clue that we got a big problem here. I wonder if we should be pulling that pan off and having a look.
Oh, I think we need to, yeah.
All right, well, let's get the pan off, and we'll go from there.
All right. I'm in Torino, Italy, visiting SCG and checking out their new competition car. The team is running some tests on these cars prior to putting them in the 24 Hours Nürburgring, which is probably the toughest endurance race in the world. Lap times here are universally accepted as measures of performance.
Ready? Let's go for a drive?
I'm ready.
Good.
This car is an exercise in very, very high technology. Even calling it a car is sort of a misnomer. I mean, it's fully aerodynamic. Every part of the car has a function as far as the aerodynamics of the car is concerned. Every part of the car is concerned with getting the power from the engine to the tires and keeping the grip on the track. It's absolutely superb.
Jim and his team are preparing for the 24 Hours in Nürburgring. The race is held in Germany. It's really considered one of the ultimate tests for both car and driver. Drivers push their cars as hard as they can for 12 hours a night, 12 hours a day to get as many laps under their belts as possible in that 24-hour period. Veteran race car driver Jackie Stewart dubbed Nürburgring the Green Hell, simply because of its narrow, winding track, unpredictable weather, and dense forest. In 2015, one of SCG's cars fell victim to the Nürburgring. It hit the wall at 125 miles an hour. While the driver was fine, the car was finished. Now the team is more determined than ever to win this year's event.
Upon testing the oil pressure in the engine, we had radical readings from the gauge in the car plus our master test gauge here at the shop. They were consistent with each other, so we got the customers okay to look further.
The car was running very low in oil. There wasn't a lot in the sump. And this car is built from a lot of aftermarket performance parts, so we're going to look a little further.
Oh, got her.
The first thing we're going to do is check the pickup height and make sure it is in proper relationship to the bottom of the pan.
Let's see what we got here.
The better half of quarter of an inch away, which is good. Quarter of an inch to approximately 5/8 of an inch, which is good. It gives it enough room for the pump to pick up good oil flow in the RPM, and yet it's not too close to cause cavitation, which would starve it for oil as well.
This is a critical measurement, actually, to verify how far the pan goes, so.
It's very important, the distance of that pickup to the bottom of the pan. So we checked that, and it's good. That's not a problem.
So we got about half an inch of clearance.
This is good. So that eliminates that problem. So we'll have to move on. Let's pop this cover off. See what the pump looks like.
Okay.
We now know that the gauges were working properly, and the engine's okay, but we're concerned about the oil pump at this point.
We took apart the oil pump and discovered that there was some scoring in the pump that looked like it was a little premature, like an oil pump that would have had 100 or 2,000 kilometers on it, not one that only had 100 kilometers on it. So I think all the damage from this just from starving from oil?
Oh, for sure.
A little bit.
That's the lifeblood of that. It's like the heart in our body. No
Right.
blood,
No blood.
you die.
In trouble.
Yep.
So we decided that we better change the pump, and at that time we're going to upgrade the pump to a high volume pump.
All right, I'll go up and order a new one.
Okay.
Janice and I are in Torino getting an exclusive look at Jim Glickenhaus's SCG-003, an amazing hypercar. We saw their competition car. Now we're going to their facility to take a look at their street-legal car, the Stradali.
This is neat.
Yeah, this is the new car, is the evolution of the race car that you will be driving.
And what the dream of Scuderia Cameron Glickenhaus is to take what we've learned from racing and make a really amazing, comfortable, road legal version of the race car, Competizione Stradali, that's very racy but is road legal, and a very refined Stradali version of the car that is really sort of like an ultimate GT car. And that's our dream.
This is, I think, is a Jim Glickenhaus feature.
Because the car is so low, you can't really see the red light, and you find yourself stopping way back. So we opened a viewing port in the roof that you can look through and see the red light. I drive them tens of thousands of miles. I say, I like this, I don't like this. I can reach my hand to the cup holder, I can, and I try to work out all the bugs, but by the time we sell it, it's a very user-friendly and a real cool car and a fun car to drive.
It's unlikely you've ever driven something like the Stradali, but for $1.3 million, this one can be yours.
Ron and I discovered that the car was running low in oil, but the oil dipstick indicator suggested the opposite. Being an aftermarket oil pan and dipstick, we have to do some calculations and see actually how much oil was in that sump. There's still something going on here, so let's put the oil we took out back in here.
So I put the oil pan in the Varsol machine and put 9 liters of Varsol in it, and we could see where the level should be and where it was before. So we want it just below this windage plate here. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the oil pan sits pretty level on the car. And we're still, that's 6 liters, and we're still like 1.5 inches below the windage plate here.
That thing didn't have much more than a liter of oil in it. Sucking herself dry oil. So we put it back together like it would be in the car, the dipstick and the pan, and discovered that the markings was wrong.
Right, way past the full. So obviously the guy that owns the car, when you look at your dipstick and it says full, well, you're not full, you're still down 3 liters, 4 liters of oil.
Where is this dipstick from?
Look at this on here. It says made in Taiwan stamped here.
It's an aftermarket oil pan and an aftermarket dipstick somebody's manufactured to fit onto this custom pan.
The problem with that is you can starve the engine of oil and destroy it. So we recalibrated the dipstick, put a mark on the dipstick indicating when 9 liters was the full.
Now we know why it was starving for oil. So now we'll wait till the new pump comes in, high volume pump, and install it and adjust the oil level to its proper level and test it.
All right, space black on this thing now. finished spraying the black and I'm unmasking the horse. And it's gonna have brown candy on top. So I'm gonna airbrush that on there right now. I just sprayed red on the guy's shirt on the horse. So I'm gonna add a little bit of blue to that, and that'll darken up the bottom parts on the red. It'll sort of give it a purple tinge to it, but it'll look like a dark shadow on there.
We're in Torino, Italy, looking at the SCG Hypercar and learning about some of the innovations that they hope are going to give them a competitive edge.
This is how our SCG 003C looks between the races. We are dismantling the car and checking everything. Luca, it is our engineer in charge.
Luca?
Janice. Hi.
And Dave.
Luca.
Good to meet you.
Can you just explain how it works and what we are doing at the moment?
Now we are going to measure all the setup of the car. So front camber, rear camber, toe, radiate, all the stuff that we need to set before going into the truck.
SCG has created a novel way of adjusting toe and camber on these cars and being perfect every time. Instead of hoisting the car onto a cumbersome machine, they create a framework around the car that gives them perfect measurements every time.
So, Dave, why don't you drive yourself?
Oh, with that?
Yeah, with that. That's a
drill.
That's a real drill.
And that's it? Just, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's light. Man, that's light. So this plate is replacing this whole unit. You just take all your adjustments for toe and camber off of one flat surface.
Yeah, yes.
That's very clever.
The target is that we have to be able to measure the whole setting of the car in at least 20 minutes. The first measure is made from the hub to the line, so we are sure that the square is centered with the car. After that, we measure the top. Okay, now they are going to measure the toe of the wheel. That is the angle that the toe makes with respect to the center line of the car. Our target is to go 1 millimeter of toe out for each wheel. So the front is closer to the line, so the toe is out,
little bit out.
and is 1 millimeter out. So Federico is in the right target. And again is 16, 17, same measure, 1 millimeter out, so the front toe is correct.
If the camber and toe aren't properly adjusted on a race car, well, you got a problem. It can either understeer, it can oversteer, it can become almost impossible to control on hard corners.
I'm noticing this, which I think is very clever, and I'm actually going to steal that idea, where you have these veins underneath the car that conduct a massive amount of high-pressure air away from the front of the wheel.
Yep.
That's an amazing piece of technology just there. I mean, then you keep going through this car, and it's, yeah. And now I finally understand this.
It's about time.
Yeah.
Finally done. Turned out pretty good. Yeah, and it's got the clear on it now, so it really pops out in the sunlight too. Like, it's got some nice fading and sort of looks 3D and stands off the surface. It's got a little drop shadow there, so it turned out good. It's awesome.
Hey, bro, look what just come in. The high-performance oil pump has come in, and we're ready to install it.
The car has a large oil cooler and a large remote oil filter on it. So we figure it's going to need extra oil flow. So the high-volume pump should look after that. So you can see the difference in the size of the pump body. This was much deeper than this one here. This is like maybe an inch. This is like an 1.75 inches. So there's more oil in the pump to be pushed through the engine. That's why they call it a high-volume pump.
The only thing left to do now is put the oil pump back on and refill it with oil and fire up the car.
Okay. See? Not bad. Let me get a couple bolts started here. All right, I think we're all buttoned up underneath here.
Yep.
I got that, you got
Yeah,
that.
I got that. I got the rest of the
Bolts are
pin
tight.
bolts.
Pins
That's on.
Okay. I'm gonna put 8 liters in. And after we run it, I'll double check it. Oh, alrighty, there we are. We're right up to the new line. We'll double check it once we run it for a while and make sure the system's all full.
I think we got the cat by the ass.
Yeah, we've done everything. Put a new pump on, buttoned it back up, filled it full of oil to the new full mark. And now we're gonna fire it up and check the oil pressure and make sure everything's okay.
Contact.
Oh! Lots of oil pressure there.
So, turn the booth fan on.
Well, that's good. I'm happy with that kind of.
Yeah, that's 60 plus pounds idling
Perfect.
right off the bat.
Perfect.
Got her.
Perfect.
There you go.